Hi there, everyone. Welcome to your Human Design Coach podcast. I am Ashley Watkins, an ICF and Human Design Certified Coach. Love to be here with you for episode 13 to talk about all things human design in action. Your quote for today: "You set objectives for the distant future and think of now as your preparatory period. You think, I really want to do this, and I'll do it when the time comes. This is a way of living that postpones life. As long as we postpone life, we can never go anywhere and will pass our days only one after the next in dull monotony because we think of here and now as just a prep period." All right, so we're back today for another Ask Ashley episode focused on variables. Last week in episode 12, we looked at the right side variables, and I also realized that I have a hard time saying variables, stumbled a few times, so here we go again. Today we're going to take a look at the left, and the left gives us lots of great information on nutrition, digestion. Digestion also can be about how we digest information. Today we're going to kind of focus on the food part of it, but just to be aware of that. And then we also see information on the left of how we can move with more ease, incorporate movement into our life with more ease, and environments that may be supportive of us kind of showing up as our best selves, and how those can kind of play together with our movement. Today, we're going to do another rapid fire. We've got 3 questions. We've got a generator, a mani-gen, and a projector, and these all center around movement and eating. If you haven't listened to episode 12, might be interesting to go back and do that. But we did talk in episode 12 how a lot of human design teachers will say start on the left side first, as far as the variables for nutrition and movement, digestion, and then go to the right. So maybe you want to listen to this first and then go back to 12 if you haven't listened to it. It is your listening adventure. Just a note about variables. We talked about this last time. They are those little arrows at the top of the chart around the head and mind, and again, give us some information about different parts of our design. Generally, the more you're living your type, strategy, and authority and those other pieces, the more that feels aligned, the more relevant these variables will be. Still an interesting thing to know about, and definitely a place to dive a little bit deeper into your design. When we look at the left, we're going to start with the top left arrow, and this is going to be that digestion piece. So it gives us information about taking in food in the most aligned way, as well as we mentioned, information. So if we want to have easier digestion, if we want to understand how to support ourselves nutritionally in some very practical ways, this is a great place to go. This is also a place where some teachers talk about if you are looking at a child's chart, the rest of the variables don't have as great of impact until someone is past 30, but the digestion is for all ages. So if you are looking at a child's chart, you may not want to focus on all the variables, but that digestion can give some information there. If your top left digestion arrow is facing left, then it may be supportive and healthy for you to kind of eat more consistently. Above all, you want to stay well nourished and hydrated. Don't go too long without eating. So these are recommendations. We always take what resonates and leave the rest, but it may be supportive to eat right when waking up. Have a snack before like a big meeting or a big test or conversation. Don't let yourself get hangry, and that happens by eating and drinking water consistently. And then those who have the facing right may not need as much consistency. So it's eat when you're hungry, drink when you're thirsty. And that could mean I want to eat at 8 a.m. one day when I have my first meal. It might be 10 a.m., might be later. I have the top left arrow that faces right, and I was interested to read this about myself because I find that sometimes when I'm traveling, like I don't know when the next opportunity is that I have to eat. So I will make myself eat. Like it's lunchtime, you have a break, you're not hungry, but you've got to do it because you might not have a chance again until late at night, and that gets hairy. But it definitely doesn't make me feel my best. Just some personal experience there. And then the bottom left arrow is going to be the environment. So this helps us with some information about environments where we may feel like our optimal self, and thinking about how those environments can support us in caring for our body and some information there. It may indicate a place or a type of place where we feel less resistance. So this doesn't mean that we can't show up well in all different types of environments, but it may just be a place where we really feel like everything kind of comes together and we can really shine. And you're going to hear some different environments today, but just understand that they're symbolic. For example, there's one called shores. Doesn't mean you have to be on the seashore, but we'll talk about what that can look like. We're looking at the qualities of the environment, not necessarily that it has to be literally a mountain or a shore. Also can give us information here about how we can best move our body. So if you have, again, the left facing, so this is the bottom left arrow, left facing, then you may really respond to environments that stimulate energy, and moving your body and exercising regularly in a more systematic or routine way may feel supportive to you versus facing right. This is called the passive body. The environments may be more kind of relaxing, soothing, and it's not that you don't need movement, but just like it's movement and flow. So it's mindful, it's kind of tuning in with what do I need today? My particular uh, variable faces left on the bottom left. I was just talking about this yesterday. I think part of that is just as I get older as a woman and just get more in touch with like different phases of the month and how that looks, but just listening to myself. So either way, you're listening to yourself, but maybe there's some more gentleness, and it doesn't mean you can't do heavier workouts, but listening to your body when it says it's time to slow down and maybe get into a different kind of flow. Are you guys proud of me? But I barely talked about all my innermost thoughts and wonderings today. I got a lot out last time. I actually cut a lot out of what I said before I started last episode. I was like, oh, you just needed to talk. But I'm excited to jump into these questions. So let's go ahead and start. So again, rapid fire here today. We're going to start with our generator question. Our generator says, as I get older, I know my nutrition and movement needs are changing, but I also feel less motivated. How can I get more in tune with these needs and have more ease day to day? So let's pop up this generator chart here. And we're going to look first at that top left arrow, so the digestion variable. And this person has the direct type of digestion, and it is facing left. So for those with the direct digestion variable, say that a few times fast, they are going to be sensitive about the time of day that they eat. And it's really for you, you may resonate with this generator, that it's less about what you eat than when. And so for those specifically with the direct, it may be better for you to eat when the sun is up. So that may look like having a really nice big breakfast and then kind of going lighter from there and ceasing that when the sun goes down. Again, this person has the left facing arrow. So staying nourished consistently, eating at consistent times, making sure you're staying hydrated before big meetings or conversations, not letting yourself go too long without eating may be more supportive. And so if this person is saying they want to be more in tune with how they're feeling, so the first might be if you're older and you've been eating a certain way for a long time, just might be worth it to do some reflection on what is your current approach and what does that look like versus what you just heard about your variable. And in the current approach, do you notice any patterns or preferences within that that kind of align with this, what you're hearing here about this direct digestion variable? And then once you have some time for reflection, then how can you experiment? How can you play with this and see what it feels like? And then going into our second left side variable, so the bottom left is the environment. And for this person, this variable is called the passive mountains variable, and it faces left. So what the heck is that? Again, we said we take these symbolically. So it doesn't mean this person must always conduct all their business from the mountaintop, but it may mean that they are drawn to kind of elevated spaces or places where they feel like they can kind of get the lay of the land. These are places where really recalibration is happening. So being up and being able to kind of see out may make them feel kind of able to reset and recharge. There's also a piece here with those who have this view of really needing mental stimulation. So It can be important for those with the mountains, whether it's passive or active, in this case, passive, to stay learning and stay stimulated. And so when that is not happening, that can lead to potential like lower energy or just kind of less of a feeling of satisfaction if we're thinking about our generator here. And so going back to the question of movement needs are changing, but I just want more ease when it comes to moving. I wonder what jumps to mind as far as like an environment that might be supportive of movement. So a place where you feel like you can kind of see out, like maybe is it taking walks or hikes in places where you can kind of get that lay of the land? Does that feel supportive? Um, and then this just popped in my head, like, what about like the Stairmaster or the elliptical where you can kind of be up high at the gym if you're relegated to the gym? Just something where you kind of have that open view. I wonder if that any of that would be supportive. And just again, the reflection, like what environments are most energizing in the past, what gets you moving, what doesn't feel so much like work, and what feels maybe more constricting. Can you seek out more of those qualities that are more energizing when it comes to your movement? Okay. Moving on to our manifesting generator. Manifesting generator says, how can I make eating well and incorporating movement daily more fun? Oh, is that a Manny Gen question or what? All right, so here we have someone pop up their chart. They've got the digestion of indirect. So we just heard about the direct. So now we get to hear indirect. You may have already, if you remember the direct being daytime eating, you may have already guessed what this might be, but they have that facing right. So again, sensitive to the time of day, less about what they eat than when. But this person they are our night owl. They are sundown eating. They are late night snacking, and that can be really supportive to them. So a lot of this comes from this person with this variable may feel a surge of energy at night, and that leads to hunger. And I don't know about you, but I mean, I'm a woman living in the United States of America, so I've been on my fair share of diets. No longer, thank goodness, but I remember the diet advice of like, you must stop eating after a certain time. Or even now, like intermittent fasting is really at the forefront. But what do I come back to? The thing I love about human design is that we are all designed uniquely. And I've seen people who have this particular variable say, like, I felt so guilty because I get so hungry at night. I'm not as hungry during the day, but I just feel like that's backwards to how I've been told how to do it. So, this kind of thing of light eating during the day and then heavier at night, and also having that right facing arrow, they don't need as much consistency in like eating at the set times before these big events and conversations, like somebody with the left facing, they can kind of just say, I'm hungry, I want to eat, I'm thirsty, I want some water. So I think for this type specifically, because there is so much like societal conditioning around eating later, how can you experiment with this? And just like, what are the results that you get? Does it feel better? Does it give you that sense of, you said you want fun, I don't know, late night eating, like you get in the kitchen and you get something out of the fridge, like some cold noodles or something. That sounds pretty fun to me. I don't have this digestion, but sounds fun. So maybe there's some ways to play that could bring in the fun there. And then this person, they also want to know making movement fun, more fun. So they have the bottom left arrow, the environment arrow variable of internal markets, and that's facing left. And so for those who have the markets variable, they may thrive where there's some exchange happening. So that could be, exchange of goods, but that could also be an exchange of ideas, of conversation, of energy. This person, knowing that you have this internal markets left facing variable, you're just energized by the right spaces where there's energy happening. I wonder what your movement currently looks like. If it was somebody who was maybe working out more on their own, at home, maybe in a smaller gym. I wonder like what comes up when you think about going out? Like, can you go out to the gym where there's maybe more people? Can you join some kind of rec league where there's like an exchange? I don't know, but I wonder if anything in that sparks for you as far as thinking about the spaces being important here, and you need that exchange and that energy, and you want it to be kind of regular, something like an exercise class or something where there is that kind of commitment. That might be supportive here. Okay, our final question comes from our projector. This projector says, I was very active in high school, but I find that I do less as I get older. How can I prioritize nutrition and movement now? Yes. The high school athlete. Can't relate. Definitely came to working out and physical activity later in life just because I can be horrendously uncoordinated. That may be an old story I need to let go of, but literally when I was like in kindergarten, I had gym homework. Like I had to have a Pringles can with a tennis ball and practice like throwing it up and catching in it to try to help with my coordination. Oh, I think I'm better now, but still struggle, but that's okay. Okay, anyway, back to you, projector. It's not all about me. Uh, so you are looking at, the adult. What does it look like as an adult to kind of have this nutrition and movement? You see the through line in these questions. I think that feels pretty relatable, right? Is like just letting your habits and the things that you know are good for you, letting them evolve as you do. So I'm so grateful for these questions. All right, so a couple new digestions and environments here. So the first top left variable is going to be high digestion, and you see that's facing left. So this person may find themselves sensitive to acoustics while eating. Now, there is a high and a low digestion. I actually have the low. And so, in both high and low, there's sensitivity to acoustics. But with low, digestion may be better if you eat in a quieter, like environment. And it was so interesting to learn this about myself because whenever I go out, like at a big dinner, like if we have a big family dinner and we're out at a restaurant, it's like my appetite just disappears. Like everybody's talking and everything's going on. So it's interesting. But this person with the high is the opposite. So they may find themselves seeking some sound, whether that's like talking to someone, watching something, listening to music as they eat, and that may promote healthy digestion in them. So because it is the left-facing arrow again, this person may find it supportive to have more consistent nourishment during the day. Somebody who's trying to figure out how to eat in just a way that makes them feel a little bit better is kind of what I'm hearing here. Something that jumps to mind is like that idea behind atomic habits of like the habit stacking. So do you have like a certain type of music or show that you like or whatever that may be that you could pair with your eating to just like, I wanna watch this show, like, that's something I wanna do, and so let me give myself that while I eat healthy, or maybe I'm butchering the idea of habit stacking, maybe it's more of a reward thing, like, I will only watch this show when I eat, and only when I'm eating in a way that feels nourishing. When it comes to this, I'm not a health coach, so those who are would have more deep advice as far as specifically maybe what to eat. But I think experimentation doesn't have to be a full on, like I'm cutting everything out. But I mean, I know there are certain things that I eat that just don't feel the greatest when I'm done. And so paying more attention, like maybe jotting some things down as you're figuring out what nutrition looks like for you now. But that sound piece, it would be interesting to see like, can you leverage that to kind of get your brain, like it's something you need to do? Can you give it something that it wants to do? And then this person's environment is going to be artificial shores. We mentioned this one, shores, at the beginning. So there's artificial and there's natural. This person has artificial and that's facing right. And so anyone who has the shores environment variable may find themselves drawn to kind of being on an edge of something where a space is transitioning. So that could be building to street, that could be an actual shoreline, it could be on a patio. And then this also can look like being drawn to stretching themselves into something new. So like the transition into something new. So that seems impactful here. You have this variable that kind of already gives you this indication that you may be designed to sort of thrive in these transitional times. So if you know that about yourself, does that help you trust anything about how you might be drawn to movement? So this person has the right facing arrow, and that's that more mindful, maybe gentler movement. Doesn't mean you can't do big, energetic, lift weights, cardio, all those things. But it seems like what's supportive might be supportive here is just playing with that. What feels good? What feels mindful? What is something new? Maybe you need to keep shifting and trying new things. And do I get more out of these episodes than anyone else? Because whenever I talk about pieces of my design, like I've been feeling a little bit, I have the shores variable, so I have the artificial shores as well, and I have the right facing. So I've been doing and really enjoying for the last couple of years doing a lot of more weightlifting, and I've enjoyed that a lot. And it's felt really like empowering. But I've just found myself lately like, oh my God, like I'm bored. So if I see this and I'm talking to this person about like what could be new and what movement could you do that kind of like stretches you into something, let me take my own coaching and play with that. Okay. So we heard from three people today. Kind of all the through line is I'm looking to be more mindful in my body. And I think that's what I would say, like, is the benefit of these variables, these left side variables. Um, I wouldn't, I wouldn't be telling you the truth if I said they were the most exciting to me. There's other parts of the chart. Like I felt like, yes, last time with the right side was more interesting to talk about, but I see how this would give you like really a window into something and maybe some freedom to explore some things. So I think the big through line with all the kind of coaching is just how can you play? How can you experiment? What are you currently doing that might already be fitting into this? And can you do more of that? Or you just may be more intentional with it. All right. As always, please send me your questions for Ask Ashley. We've looked at a lot of pieces of the chart. I think we've touched on most things, if I'm remembering right. So it's all up for grabs and would love to hear from you. Until I see you again, take care.